Welcome to Bennie Barre Fitness. Today we're going to be doing an at-home Pilates workout on the stability ball. So grab a mat and your stability ball or yoga ball and let's get started. So these movements are great if you're looking for a total body at-home workout or if you want to just do a couple of these movements while you're sitting and watching a show. So let's get started working the back. Bring that stability ball out in front of you and rest your hips and stomach across it, keeping the hands on the ball for support and stepping your feet out wide. We're starting with back extension. So focusing on rounding through the spine, we're going to lift that chest, feeling the back work. So you should feel the muscles of your back engaged and working. There shouldn't be any sharp pain, and how high you come up into this motion is going to depend on the flexibility of your spine, because you are going to want it to be nice and round and no jerking and pressing your back into any kind of 90-degree angle. So right here, we are strengthening the back extensors while developing abdominal control. Focusing on inhaling to lift and exhaling, bring back down. Inhale, lift, exhale, bring back down. You can take this at your own pace with your steady flow of breath. Next, we're going to move into a swan dive on the ball. So we're going to roll forward, keeping the hips nice and stable at the center of the ball, and our hands planting down onto the mat. And we're going to bend through those elbows to rock forward. We're going to keep a nice curvature of our spine and imagine that we are the bottom rungs of a rocking chair as we rock forward and back, bending through those elbows to rock forward. Now this is a back extension exercise. You're going to feel this a lot in the low back here as you're working, and how high those legs come up in the back is dependent on how flexible you are. So do what's comfortable for you. Rocking forward and back here in this swan dive motion. Good, now gently plant those knees to the ground and roll back off the ball. We're going to turn things around and come to a seated position to work the abdominals. Hands behind the head, elbows out wide, and avoid pulling on the neck. Right here, we're going to draw in the abdominal muscles and lift the upper spine, beginning at the top of the head. So this is going to feel like your basic crunch, but you've got a nice rounding of the spine across the stability ball to keep you nice and comfortable as you're working and becoming more aware of those abdominals. With each exercise, you can take anywhere between 5 to 20 reps. Most of these I'm doing 15, a lot of them I'll do 20, whatever's comfortable for you. Next, we're going to add some rotation to that chest lift. So taking one elbow from side to side. We're going to rotate the upper girdle to one side, focusing on drawing in the abdominal muscles. And really keeping pelvis stability throughout. So I'm focusing on driving that elbow to the outside of my knee to get a nice solid rotation. So here we're developing pelvic stability while performing spinal rotation and strengthening both the abdominals while we are emphasizing the obliques. Try to move the head, arms, and upper trunk as one unit and avoid pulling on the neck as you're coming forward. And of course, the entire time focusing on breathing, nice steady breath, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. Be sure that you're not holding your breath as you're trying to get through the exercise. We are just about there, and lower down. For our next abdominal exercise, we're going to move into the roll-up. So keep the knees close together and extend back over the ball. Arms going up straight overhead. We're going to roll up head, neck, and shoulders. And crunching forward. Really focusing on articulating through the spine and maintaining a C curve at the top and rolling back down. On the ball, this becomes significantly easier than it is on the mat to go from a flat supine position all the way to a roll up with your shoulders above your hips. So this is a great way to practice rolling through the spine. For breathing, focus on inhale to prepare. Exhale, peel up head, neck, and shoulders. Roll forward. Inhale at the top and exhale to roll back. You do want to focus on keeping the head in line with the spine throughout this exercise. So right here with the roll up, we're going to be strengthening the abdominal muscles as well as stretching the muscles of the back. While you're also working that front, you're also developing spinal mobility here. So focusing on articulating, rolling through each vertebra at a time of the spine while we engage those abdominal muscles to lift and roll back down. You are nearly there. Peeling up, lowering back down, and go ahead and rest. Next, we're going to walk out into a plank position for the leg pull front, resting the shins on the ball, hands out in front of us. We're going to lift one leg at a time, really aiming for stability of the body, even though that's challenged by the stability ball moving around. Arms are shoulder width apart and directly underneath, the hands are directly underneath the shoulders for stability here. When you finish with one leg, go ahead and switch to the other side, maybe a little breather before you start. Really aim for evenness through the body. So the amount that you do on one leg, make sure that you do the same amount of reps on the other. Here I'm taking 10 on each leg. Following that movement, we're simply going to hold a plank. So find your stability, resting your shins on that ball, making sure that you are upright and lifted, and check your pelvis. Make sure that your tail isn't coming up too high in the air and that it's not arching down, giving pressure to the low spine. Make sure that your abdominals are working and that you stay tucked and as much in a straight line as you can. You may notice your body beginning to shake as you're holding this plank. Really breathe through that sensation. Find a focal point and take that breathing nice and deep, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. A lot of holds and endurance-based resistance activities are very, very mental. It's all about your mental focus and breathing into it and using that breath to sustain you in positions that are challenging to hold. So we're going to hold this plank for about a minute. Even though your body may be beginning to shake, really focus on you being that calm in the storm. The mind is calm and focused and the breath is nice and smooth. Good. Go ahead and push that back. Relax. Let's take a little stretch break here. Go ahead and allow your body to just lay comfortably on the ball, maybe roll from side to side. And then take the ball out in front. We're going to push back into rest pose or a child's pose. And just keeping your hands on the ball, go ahead and sit back into those haunches, move the ball forward. You may find it comfortable to roll it from side to side. Really stretch those arms out into the ball. And that's a nice stretch to take also following your back extension exercises. Next, we're going to move into some bridging. So bringing that ball out in front of you, we're going to lay in a supine position down on our back, lifting our feet up onto the ball. So we're going to move into bottom lift. This is a bridge with the feet on the ball, so they're nice and elevated. So notice my neutral spine here, that there's a gap. I'm going to tilt that pelvis forward, pressing the low back into the mat before I lift my pelvis up. So I'm really moving slow and controlled, rolling through my spine as I'm lifting and lowering. So as much as this exercise is about working the hamstrings, it's also about spinal articulation and abdominal work. So if that pelvis is nice and tilted forward and we're articulating, peeling that spine up off the mat one vertebrae at a time and melting it back down one vertebrae at a time, we're using the abdominal muscles quite a bit. Eliminating stability with the ball and keeping our feet up and elevated is also making our hamstrings and our quads work quite a bit harder here. Keep rolling through this, focusing on a nice fluid motion rather than jerking or thrusting the hips forward. We really want to articulate that up and down. And next we're going to move into a bottom lift hold. So we're going to take it up and hold it right here for a couple of seconds. If you need to, you can put your hands underneath your hips for support. As you can see, it's a little bit hard to hold this steady here, and you're really working those muscles. Very good. Now go ahead and roll that down one vertebrae at a time and give it a little rest. Just go ahead and slide those feet across the ball, tucking the knees in and out. And paying attention to this motion, we're going to take this into our bottom lift as well. We'll lift up into that bridge and then extend the legs straight out. So right here, we're just resting and rolling those knees back and forth before we lift again. Okay, it's time to get back to work, rolling that ball in. Now pressing that low back into the spine, tilting the pelvis up and rolling up into our bottom lift. We're going to extend the legs straight and slide them back in, all the while keeping our hips lifted as we roll out and tuck back in. Extending and tucking back in. So this is not a mat exercise. This is an exercise that you would do on the reformer. Because we have the rolling motion and capability of the ball, we're going to push that ball out the same way that we would push off of the reformer and slide the carriage out. Again, here you can take this as many reps as you'd like, anywhere from 5 to 20. You may find that 10 is plenty here. I believe I'm doing 15. Extending out and pulling back in. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. Nice steady flow of breath through this movement. Good, and lower back down. Now let's take a little break right here, tucking those knees into the chest. Let's rock from side to side, giving a little back massage. And stretching the legs out. Go ahead and flex through those heels, press them up, and point and flex. Next, we're going to bring the ball out to our side for some kneeling side leg work. Feeling nice and stable, we're going to lean our body weight onto the ball. Our inside leg is bent at the knee, resting on the ground. Our outside leg is our working leg. And we're going to start with leg raises, flexing through the foot. We're going to lift and lower. So we've eliminated the stability of resting our hand on the ground and are just leaning on that stability ball, lifting and lowering. Again, this might get exhausting after a little bit, so anywhere between 5 to 20 reps is plenty here. You may find 10 to be sufficient. So we do want to focus on nice, stable, steady hips. You might find it helpful to bring that outside arm onto your hip to make sure that it's staying nice and stable, or you may need the extra support of leaning that hand into the ball. Transitioning next into the kneeling side kick. Lift that leg about hip level. We're going to flex the foot, bring it forward, point, bring it back. Flex forward, point, swing it back. Again, steady hips. And we are focusing on that leg staying stable and in a straight line. So we don't want to see that top leg dipping and swaying. We want it to stay at the same level, trying to keep the ankle in line with the hip as we swing forward and back. The range of motion here is not going to be huge as we are really challenging that stability by being up on the knee and leaning on the stability ball. But we're trying to focus on keeping that leg level and straight while keeping the hips quiet and stable. So we don't want to swing our entire body around. Do keep track of the amount of reps that you're doing while these kneeling exercises, because when we switch sides, we want to make sure that we keep it even and are doing the same amount on the other side. And lower that leg down. We're going to go ahead and flip over to the other side. Now you're going to feel the first side that you worked, so you may find that when you flip over to the other side, it's a little bit more challenging. Again, leaning onto that ball with our weight, we've got our inside leg bent, and we're extending the outside leg. Strong flex through that foot. We're going to lift and lower, trying to keep those hips as stable as we can while leaning into this stability ball. If you wanted to challenge this, you can put your hand up behind your head to really lengthen through the spine and challenge that balance there. You could also put weights on your ankles, but I think adding the stability ball really adds a little something to this exercise when you're leaning into it and makes it more challenging. And transitioning here to the kneeling side kick on the other side. Getting that balance. Go ahead and lift that leg about hip level. And we're going to flex that foot as we bring it forward and point sweep it back. You can also include a double kick as you're bringing this forward. I'm just taking one smooth motion here because the stability is challenged. Normally, if your hand were to the floor, you'd be taking 2 kicks forward and then pointing the toe and pressing back. Now, you may find yourself getting rather tired here. You're feeling those glute muscles and everything burning here in this exercise. Keep breathing, pushing through. Your muscles need oxygen right now. Don't worry, a nice little stretch is coming your way. Flexing forward, pointing back, flexing forward, swinging back. Again, trying to keep that ankle nice and lifted, keeping that leg in line with the hips. You can see as this gets more challenging that the leg wants to lower down. It's hard to keep it in a steady plane. Okay, bring that down and relax. Let's take a little stretch here. And we'll utilize the ball. We'll take one foot to the ball and cross the ankle over top of that knee. And then roll that ball towards your body so you can continue to roll it forward to deepen that stretch of the glute. And you can press away onto the knee as well to kind of open up that area. And just breathing deeply, stretching that area out. And rolling, extending back out, switching the legs. Crossing the ankle over to the knee and rolling that ball towards your body. The closer that you roll it to your body, the deeper you're going to feel the stretch. And a little gentle press away to the knee. Just deeply breathing, stretching out those glutes. And again, let's go ahead and roll the feet across the ball, tucking the knees in and out. And go ahead and let the legs splay open, keeping the feet close together. And let's roll in and out. Stretch that groin and hip area. And just rolling back and forth. Kind of like a little frog motion, except we're not extending full out. We're just pulling that ball in and extending a little bit. Okay, stretch time is over. We're going to get back into a plank position with our shins resting on the ball. And we're going to move into knee tucks. Okay, so we've got the ball about 2. It's coming in between our ankles and knees. And so we're going to roll those knees forward so that our ankles are rolling forward on the ball. So our hips lift a little bit as we tuck those knees into chest. We're going to be, it's kind of total body integration here. We're going to be working those abdominals like crazy. Good. We're almost through with these knee tucks, and then we're going to take it into a plank pike. So holding that plank, we're going to lift the hips, allowing those legs to roll forward, coming into a pike position and back to a plank. Lifting forward and coming back, trying to keep that neck in line with the spine. This is a lot of work through the shoulders. If you find it challenging to get into that plank position, just lift the hips as much as you can and lower back to a plank. So you just come to your comfortable range of motion. It's going to be a lot of balance. It's like you're moving into a handstand here. A lot of work through the shoulders, and your abdominals are working like crazy. So again, as many reps as you can here. And then lower down to the mat, keeping those legs on the ball. We're going to just roll the feet from side to side to kind of let loose in the low back a little bit, and just rest that forehead down onto your hands. Just a little break, relaxing here. For any exercises done in this video, especially the plank, you can start with 5 reps and then slowly move your way up to 10 and then maybe 15 or 20. Okay, we're going to press back up into plank again and take some push-ups here. As many as you can sustain. It's a little challenging with those feet elevated on a non-stable surface. I'm keeping my elbows into my body as I push up here. You can take it in different positions to either make it easier or to work different arm muscles. For instance, you could take your elbows out and turn those fingers in slightly. And let's go ahead when you're finished and slowly lower chaturanga down. And again, rest here with the forehead to the hands and moving those legs from side to side. And those push-ups were our last exercise. You've gotten your full body exercise on the stability ball in 20 minutes. And now we're just going to go ahead and stretch. Let's start stretching out the back. We're going to come into a back bend. So if doing a back bend is challenging for you, the stability ball is a great place to work because you can roll back and allow that spine to release and increase that back flexibility. So you can do back bends with your knees bent right here, with your elbows coming towards the mat, with your legs extended out straight, and you can kind of roll back and forth and try different things. So you may find that the farthest you can come back is with your arms extended, and you can slowly roll a little bit deeper into that back bend. So really use that stability ball in order to increase that flexibility there. And this is a great way to help you to be able to press back into a full back bend. You do want to hold any of these stretches for at least 30 seconds to let those muscles release. Let's go ahead and roll forward and just resting that low back into the ball and holding the body upright. We're just going to work through those legs a little bit, stretching them out and bending forward. Just gently rocking back and forth. Now standing and facing your stability ball, go ahead and hinge at the hips and extend the hands out flat to the ball. And stretch forward. And then you can lift and roll up, lifting the chest and then rolling back out. Lifting the chest forward, rounding through the spine, and then pressing out straight again. Stretching through the legs and the back. You can just find your own variations here of what's comfortable. Rolling forward, stretching straight spine, and lifting. Now I'm going to come into a deep lunge on the ball. So I've got my knee forward, foot to the floor, and my other leg extending here. And then you can just use the stability ball. You can hold that stretch there and kind of push back to deepen the stretch, or you can take it and roll forward and back. So taking that back foot and rolling up onto those toes and then extending back. Trying to focus on keeping the hips nice and square so you're not turning out. And just stretching back and forth here. Next, I'm going to go ahead and press my ankle down onto the ball and take my hands down to the floor once I've got it stable, and just stretching, leaning my body forward. And just breathing into that stretch, trying to hold each stretch for at least 30 seconds. The nice thing about using the ball is if you want to deepen, it is just easy to roll forward a little bit during each stretch. And bringing that other leg forward to your deep lunge. I'm just going to go ahead and hold here for several seconds before I start rocking back and forth. So the ball does give you some nice support underneath your leg while you're stretching, and also it's easy for you to kind of add a rocking motion to deepen that stretch, or to slide out slightly or back slightly in order to deepen. And rocking back and forth, rolling up onto that toe and pressing back. And again, taking the heel of that other leg onto your ball. And you can kind of roll forward, open up through the hip, or you may find that you want to keep your hips stacked over top of that knee and just lean and stretch forward. Want to make sure when you're using this ball to always move slowly and carefully when you're transitioning between positions here. Next, let's go ahead and stretch out the back and abdominals a little bit. Just laying the stomach to the ball, And slowly lifting the chest and just holding there and stretching. So you can walk it out to the hips so that you're stretching through the chest a little bit more. Okay, taking your legs out to a straddle position, bring that ball out in front and just use that ball to roll forward and push away. And then you can deepen that stretch by pushing the ball forward. You may just want to drop the elbows of the arms down to the mat, or you can use that ball as a guide to feel yourself rolling out, or maybe a support for your arms as you're leaning forward, depending on your flexibility. That ball in, let's take it over to one side. So taking your chest down towards your leg, again, you can use that as the support for your arms or as a guide to feel yourself rolling out further. Just challenge yourself here using your breath. When you feel like you are maxed out and you can't go any farther, take a deep inhale for 3 seconds, and on the exhale, lower down slightly, just a little bit, and then hold at that new position and breathe deeply. So find yourself sinking a little bit lower into each stretch, holding for at least 30 seconds to release. And same thing on the other side. Just breathing and releasing here. Good. Now walking that ball back to center. Let's take it straight out in front of us and leaning away. You may find that you are able to come into the stretch much deeper after stretching to the side. And let's go ahead and utilize that ball and rock from side to side to stretch out the obliques a little bit and rotate back and forth. And then go ahead and drop your arms down to the floor, wherever is comfortable for you. And just stretch forward, breathing deeply. Now bringing the soles of the feet together. Let's draw those abdominals in, nice flat back. And lean it forward, and you can just let your head release. And try to focus on keeping the back straight. So you're leaning forward, you can press the forearms into the ground, or maybe perhaps you're a little bit higher and you just have your hands down to the ground. And just breathing deeply here. And a little twist of the neck from side to side. And rotating other way. And then rolling up through your spine one vertebrae at a time, nice and tall. And moving your hands to your knees, go ahead and round through the spine. And then press it forward. And rolling back. And pressing forward. Awesome job today. Our workout and our stretching is done, and I hope that you move forward with your day with your body feeling awesome. I'm Mara from Bennie Barre Fitness, and thank you for watching my video and joining me for this workout today. Your support is really appreciated. I'll see you next time at the bar or on the mat.